Most of us think of bees as tiny workers, pollinating flowers, making honey, buzzing from plant to plant. But thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations believed bees were far more than insects. They were messengers between worlds, guardians of kingdoms, and symbols of life, death, and rebirth. Today, we're diving into a hidden chapter of history, the secret language of bees in ancient art, and what these tiny symbols reveal about the way ancient people understood the universe. The story begins in ancient Egypt. Imagine walking into a cool, candlelit temple. Carved into the stone walls are rows of hieroglyphs, and among them, a tiny bee. To the Egyptians, this wasn't decoration. The bee was royal, sacred, divine. In fact, the very title of the Egyptian pharaoh, he of the sedge and the bee, included the bee as a symbol of the ruler's power over Lower Egypt. Why a bee? Because Egyptians believed bees were born from the tears of the sun god Ra. When Ra cried, his tears fell onto the desert sand and turned into living bees, each one a spark of divine energy. That's why bees appear in Egyptian art next to images of gods, rulers, and sacred rituals. They represented order, rebirth, and a connection between humans and the heavens. Even today, archaeologists uncover honeycombs sealed in tombs, still preserved after 3,000 years. To the Egyptians, honey wasn't just food. It was medicine, magic, eternal life. The bee wasn't an insect. It was a symbol of immortality. Now, travel across the Mediterranean to ancient Greece. If you visited the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus thousands of years ago, you would have noticed something surprising. The priestesses were called the bees. Yes, actual priestesses were named after bees, and the goddess Artemis herself was often shown surrounded by honeybees and intricate geometric beehive patterns. Why? Because the Greeks believed bees understood nature's deepest secrets. They lived in perfect order. They created harmony, and they produced something so rare and golden that people believed it carried the essence of the gods. Some Greek pottery even shows swarms of bees forming halos around important mythological figures, almost like a protective spiritual force. Archaeologists have found gold jewelry shaped like bees, wings outstretched, bodies joined in perfect symmetry. This wasn't just decoration. It was a coded symbol of fertility, wisdom, cosmic order. Some historians even believe the famous double bee pendant from Minoan Crete may be one of the earliest artistic expressions of duality. Life and death, chaos and order, heaven and earth, held in balance by the bees. Our next stop takes us to ancient Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. Here, in the Bronze Age city of Hattusa, archaeologists discovered bee symbols carved onto massive stone gates. These weren't random carvings. They were warnings, messages, a protective spell in the form of an insect. To the Hittites, bees were soldiers, fiercely loyal, organized, and unstoppable when defending their hive. Ancient tablets even record a fascinating story. A Hittite king once sent a swarm of bees to defeat an invading army. Whether the tale is literal or symbolic doesn't matter. Its meaning is clear. Bees were seen as intelligent, coordinated warriors. Their presence in art symbolized protection, strength, and the unity of a kingdom. Even today, the Hittite sun disk, one of the most recognizable symbols from the region, features shapes resembling stylized bees circling the sun. To the ancient mind, the world wasn't divided into nature and civilization. Everything was connected. Bees weren't just creatures. They were symbols of the way the universe kept itself in balance. Now we turn to one of the most mysterious beliefs of the ancient world, the idea that bees carry the human soul. In some Mediterranean cultures, the soul was imagined as a tiny winged figure, something light enough to take flight when the body died. And in ancient art, this soul spirit often looked like a bee. Greek writers described the soul leaving the body with a gentle buzzing sound. Some even believed that exceptionally wise or heroic people returned after death in the form of bees, pure, golden, and immortal. It's no wonder early Christian art kept the bee as a symbol of resurrection, a creature that disappears in winter only to return with the spring, a perfect metaphor for life after death. When you look at ancient art, you'll notice something unusual: repeating hexagons, spirals, and golden geometric patterns carved or painted with almost obsessive precision. For years, historians argued over their meaning. Were they decorative, mathematical, religious symbols? But today, many scholars agree these motifs were deeply connected to the geometry of the beehive. Think about it. The honeycomb is one of the most perfect natural designs on Earth. Hexagons waste no space. They hold maximum strength. They store precious honey efficiently. And they appear in art across dozens of ancient cultures. To ancient artists, geometry wasn't just math. It was a language, a way the universe expressed itself. And bees were nature's architects, the living embodiment of sacred structure. In temples from Egypt to Greece, we find honeycomb-like carvings surrounding altars or divine figures. It's as if the ancients believed bees understood the blueprint of creation itself. And their patterns were a way to bring spiritual order into the physical world. Even Celtic art, thousands of miles away, features spirals that resemble the swirling flight of bees leaving a hive. The idea that tiny creatures followed cosmic patterns wasn't a metaphor. To them, it was truth. Now let's move deeper into the ancient mind. For many cultures, bees weren't just nature spirits. They were guides to the afterlife. In Mycenaean tombs, archaeologists found gold masks and burial items shaped with tiny bee emblems. These weren't random decorations. They were believed to help guide the soul on its journey. In Egypt, honey was used in mummification, not only to preserve, but to protect. The belief was simple: what the bee touches, decay cannot claim. To the Egyptians, the bee symbolized continuity, a bridge between this world and whatever came next. One of the most haunting discoveries comes from ancient Anatolia. Clay vessels filled with honey, sealed beside the dead. Even after thousands of years, when archaeologists cracked them open, the honey was still intact. A reminder of how seriously these cultures took the idea that bees held the secrets to eternal life. As centuries passed, the symbolism of bees didn't fade. It grew. Fast forward to the world of ancient Rome. The bee became a symbol of prosperity and military precision. Roman generals wore rings engraved with bees to represent discipline and unity, values every soldier was expected to uphold. But the symbolism didn't stop there. During the rise of early Christianity, the bee became a surprisingly political symbol. Christians used the bee to represent purity, resurrection, and community, values that stood in opposition to Roman excess and corruption. Even in medieval Europe, monarchs adopted bees as emblems of divine authority. Most famously, Napoleon revived the ancient Merovingian bee symbol to claim he was continuing a sacred royal lineage. Think about that. A tiny insect used for thousands of years to communicate power, purity, and legitimacy. When we put all of this together, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Greek jewelry, Hittite carvings, Mycenaean gold masks, a pattern emerges. Bees weren't just symbols. They were a language, a secret code, a way for ancient civilizations to express their deepest beliefs. The cycle of life and death, the order of the universe, the power of nature, the promise of rebirth, the structure of society, and the sacredness of community. Every carved wing, every golden pendant, every honeycomb pattern was part of a visual vocabulary the ancients used to explain the mysteries of existence. Bees taught them about cooperation, about harmony, about the delicate balance that keeps a civilization alive. And those lessons didn't stay in hives. They became art, religion, mythology, and royal identity. So the next time you see a bee, or find its symbol carved into ancient stone, remember this: To the people who came before us, bees weren't just buzzing insects. They were storytellers, messengers, architects of meaning. They carried the wisdom of nature, the breath of gods, and the secrets of creation itself. And through their art, the ancients left us a powerful message, one that still holds true today.